The mother-in-law's game. Edison, New Jersey pretends to be quiet. Lawns so green they look like they've signed an HOA contract with God. Driveways lined with SUVs that smile with chrome. Every cul-de-sac has a flag, a Ring camera, and an Amazon package arriving before you remember what you ordered. I moved into this suburban myth in late September. I'm Emily Carter, 29, MBA, remote data analyst for a Manhattan fintech. I turn chaos into dashboards. You'd think that would translate to family. It doesn't. My mother-in-law, Margaret Carter, greeted me in pearls. Classic, luminous, deceptively sharp. She hugged me like a headline and smiled with the confidence of someone who thinks the room belongs to her. My husband, Daniel, kind, tired, trying, stood between us like a bridge that forgot it was built over water. At first, it was small. You don't cook the way Carter women cook. You fold towels like a hotel, not a home. Your job is just staring at a screen, sweetie. Is that real work? 100 paper cuts you can't show a doctor. I smiled through it. I am very good at smiling. The first time I knew she was reading my texts, she quoted one back to me almost word for word, then blinked like she'd invented coincidence. Our Wi-Fi password was taped under the router, like a spare key under a fake rock. Margaret never used the guest network. Queens don't knock on their own doors. That night, I changed the passwords, and I placed a tiny camera on the bookshelf, a diffuser with a lens, facing the living room where we bonded. I wasn't waiting to catch a monster. I was looking for proof that the monster was real. 2 days later, the camera captured Margaret sliding my phone from under a throw pillow while I was upstairs. She typed my passcode. It worked. My stomach dropped through the floor. I hadn't told anyone that passcode. I had punched it in once on Daniel's phone, and Margaret had been arranging lilies, humming something nostalgic, absorbing numbers like oxygen. I didn't cry. I took notes. That week, she told Daniel I married him for his salary. We split everything. I had Venmo screenshots, bank transfers. I covered utilities in January and February when his bonus was late. I tossed extra at his Navient loan like a lifeline. But Margaret's poison smells like perfume. All she needs is a sip to turn the room. People think revenge is a bonfire. It isn't. It's a lab. You don't set it and watch. You measure, test, calibrate heat. I started recording. Dates, times, exact phrasing. I captured the way Daniel's eyebrows shifted when a seed got planted. I saved everything twice, uploaded to cloud folders named Meal Ideas, Tax Docs, and Resume V2. If you want truth to matter, assume they'll try to erase it. If you want it to survive, assume you'll be called a liar. Kindly. I booked a therapy consult. Dr. Hannah Ruiz gave me words like coercive control and triangulation. They sat bitter on my tongue and cleared my head. Build a coalition, she said. Friends not charmed by Margaret, family who trust results over theater. And then breathe. Breathing was the hardest thing. Daniel is a good man. Good is not the same as awake. He came home late, soft with exhaustion, hungry for quiet. Margaret fed him a curated version of me, lazy, cold, calculating, and he ate it because it was plated with his mother's smile. He said one Tuesday, Mom says you don't try. I had a spreadsheet open on our kitchen island, bills paid, savings auto sweeps, a red cell blinking where Margaret used our Instacart account to ship groceries to her friend in Iceland. I rotated the laptop. What does trying look like to you? He stared at the red cell like it might bite. I don't know, just trying? I need one thing. I said, wait for Thanksgiving. Why? Because family loves an audience. I didn't need Thanksgiving to win, but I needed the stage. First, I wanted Margaret to feel something unfamiliar, uncertainty. I changed my lock screen passcode. The diffuser camera caught her trying the old one with the confidence of a queen. When it failed, her face slid a shade toward animal. She escalated. She accidentally posted a picture of me asleep on the couch to the Carter family group chat. Hard week for our little worker bee. The implication was lazy, the likes were hesitant. Aunt Debbie dropped a cheerful heart that landed like a bruise. I replied with a smiley face emoji and a link to a household dashboard I built. 12 months of expenses in friendly colors even Margaret would understand. I called it Carter Home Snapshot. Daniel clicked. He saw what I'd been covering: utilities, loan overpayments, the dozens of little rescues that keep a house upright. He texted, "Thanks." Margaret texted, "So proud of you kids." I wanted to bite through the phone. I didn't. I saved the thread.
The Wednesday before Thanksgiving, I passed the hall bathroom and heard Margaret whispering into her phone. "She's not Carter material," she told Pastor Jim from the church in Metuchen. "I've tried. I've really tried." She asked him to pray for me, for Daniel, for her patience. I let the door hinge squeak. She turned on the faucet like she'd been washing her hands the whole time. "Emily," she sang, "remember the rolls at 4. "Of course," I smiled. 4. Beat. The Carters arrived in waves. Uncle Mike from Philadelphia, already on beer 2. Cousin Chloe from Boston, phone charged and opinions ready. Grandma Evelyn at the head, under the portrait of her late husband, the only man Margaret ever blinked for. Football murmured from the living room like an alibi. I set the table with the good china and slipped a Bluetooth speaker under the runner. My phone synced, the diffuser camera still. Daniel poured wine with the relaxed hands of a host who doesn't know he's a prop. We bowed our heads for grace. Margaret's voice went wide and holy. She thanked God for family, for endurance, for the strength to handle challenges together. My throat tightened. My face behaved. We ate. We complimented a turkey that was fine. Then Margaret stood to toast. "To Emily," she announced, chin high, "who is learning to be a Carter." It was the word learning that did it, the way it erased me. I tapped my phone. Recording number 12. Margaret's voice filled the room. "She's lazy. She's useless. Daniel deserves better." Forks hung mid-air. Daniel stared at me, then at his mother, like a man realizing the sun is a light bulb taped to a ceiling he pays for. "Turn that off," Margaret snapped. Recording number 23. "She only married you for your money." Daniel's voice, softer. "We split everything, Mom." Recording number 31. The hallway prayer with Pastor Jim, each careful edit of my soul. "Stop it," Margaret hissed, yanking at the runner. Uncle Mike lifted a referee hand. I said nothing. I let the room listen. Recording number 38. My voice, low and flat. "I just want respect." Margaret, "Respect is earned." Me, "So is love." Silence grabbed the room by the throat. You could hear the fridge hum. Grandma Evelyn placed her napkin down. "Maggie," she said, iron under lace, "sit." "This is out of context," Margaret said. "What people say when context is a noose." I slid my phone to Daniel, the diffuser camera clip of Margaret unlocking my phone, scrolling, screenshotting, forwarding, the stanza of a thief. He watched 30 seconds. Again. He looked up, the last 6 months finally snapping into focus. He whispered, an apology so late it had to be gentle. I turned to Margaret. "I let you speak," I said. "You humiliated yourself." "Grandma, Maggie," Margaret sat. "People think the reveal is the end. It's the beginning. It's the part where everyone chooses who they are." Daniel cried in the kitchen, quiet, like someone who hates making sound. He apologized until the word thinned out. He called Pastor Jim and asked questions no prayer could answer. He added therapy to our insurance portal without asking. It was okay. Margaret left halfway through pie. She carried upstairs her rage, her pearls, her portrait of herself. In the morning, she hugged Daniel long and dry, gave me a nod that wasn't respect and wasn't surrender, a pause. I would take a pause. She moved to her sister's condo in Piscataway, told her church she needed space. Pastor Jim preached humility, a sermon that almost grew teeth. We changed the router, the passwords, set up a guest network with limits. No more surprise drop-ins. If Margaret wanted time, she could schedule it. Both of us had veto power. In the group chat, Aunt Debbie tried to throw a quilt over the mess. I posted, "We love family. We won't tolerate disrespect. These aren't mutually exclusive." Then I muted the thread for a week. At night, Daniel held my hand like he was memorizing a language he should have learned as a boy. We walked around Roosevelt Park, watched the geese pretend they owned the lake. We didn't talk about kids. Not yet. We were still raising ourselves. I deleted the recordings in March. Not because forgiveness is a montage, but because I didn't want to curate a museum of my pain. I kept the diffuser camera in the closet. Insurance isn't paranoia, it's experience wearing a seatbelt.
I thought the credits were rolling. Then the HOA sent a violation for a fence we didn't have. Attached was a photo, a flimsy white lattice panel against our garbage cans, timestamp 2:03 a.m., a figure in a hoodie at the edge of the frame. The address was ours, the fence was not. The Ring camera showed someone walk into our yard at 2:03, bend, leave. Chloe, bless her messy soul, had once installed the condo dashcam app on my phone during a girls' night. It logged Margaret's car leaving at 1:41 a.m., returning at 2:19. I sat very still. The animal had returned to the yard. I didn't call the police. I texted one word, "Don't." 3 dots bubbled, then disappeared. I printed the HOA letter, the Ring still, the dashcam log, and put them in a folder labeled "Not Today." Smaller crowd: Grandma, Chloe, Uncle Mike. Margaret arrived late, hair neat, mouth tight, bearing cranberry sauce like a bribe. We ate it anyway. We almost made it through. Then Grandma asked Margaret to say a few words about family, she said, as if handing her a match and a damp wog. Margaret stood and performed perseverance, how families shouldn't air laundry. We handle things inside the house. I slid the folder onto the table. HOA letter, photos, dash log. "Maggie," Grandma said again, softer, sadder. Margaret's face did the math and found fractions she couldn't simplify. Daniel didn't blink. He said, "Mom, this stops. Or we do." She deflated, not into guilt or grief, into human. She sat. She pressed a napkin to her eyes until a tiny red bloom appeared. I felt pity that wasn't surrender. Under the table, I found Daniel's hand already reaching for mine. The apology didn't come that night. It came in January, in our driveway, in a cold that made honesty look like steam. Margaret walked up, without pearls, carrying soup. "I don't know how to do this," she said. "Try," I said. She tried. Not the magic words in the magic order, just human ones. "I was scared to lose my son. I thought controlling you would keep him. You scare me because you don't need me. I am learning." I said, "If you sabotage us again, we're done." I said, "You don't have to like me to respect me." I said, "Boundaries aren't punishment." Then, "You still have a son. You decide what kind." We didn't hug. The soup was good. We switched to a new router, set a shared calendar for visits. Daniel started therapy with Dr. Ruiz, then invited me to a joint session where he admitted he'd confused keeping the peace with keeping his mother comfortable. He apologized like he finally understood what the word buys. Grandma Evelyn died in April, the house suddenly huge with absence. At the funeral, Margaret sat between us and threaded her fingers through both of ours. No speech. Change can be quiet. One night in May, we ate ice cream on the porch while Edison glowed. Streetlights, fireflies, the steady hum of New Jersey pretending to be calm. Daniel rested his head on my shoulder. "I hate that it took proof," he said. "I hate that it took so much," I said. "But I love that you're here." "I'm not leaving," he said. I know. People tell you the reveal is the peak. It isn't. The peak is boring, all the days after when no one is performing, and you choose, daily, not to repeat what broke you. They tell you revenge is making the other person hurt. It isn't. It's making them stop. In Edison, lawns stayed green. Amazon kept showing up. The HOA found another fence to judge. We bought a lemon tree and killed it with kindness. We learned. We unlearned. Margaret started texting before she came by. Can I stop in? And I discovered no is a complete sentence and a love language. Sometimes I replay Thanksgiving not to savor the takedown, but to remember the first time I didn't swallow something sharp because someone called it tradition. Sometimes I think about the lab, how I measured heat instead of burning the house. Sometimes I put down my phone and let silence be proof I'm not waiting for the next alarm. And sometimes, late, I hear Margaret humming in the kitchen while she washes dishes after a dinner she didn't orchestrate. It sounds like surrender's kinder cousin. It sounds like we might be okay.